This week on Car Obsession, I make manly noises,
Ugh.
I get treated by Mother Nature,
Well, thank you very much, British weather.
and I sing a nursery rhyme.
Wind the bobbin up, wind the... No, that's the wrong thing, Aaron. That's something completely different. Hello guys, welcome back to Car Obsession and once more to Monique, my turbocharged Mazda MX-5. Today's job shouldn't be too taxing, but I may need to take the occasional break, but I'll try not to pad out the video, so please don't take the piston out of me because I'm trying my bleeding best. God, even I'm disappointed by that. Shall we make a start? Yeah, let's do that. So the reason why I'm doing this job is because the last time I changed the rear pads on Monique, the near side rear caliper, the piston was very reluctant to wind back. And although I was able to get a new set of pads in, yeah, it was a challenge. And I've noticed that the pads on the near side are wearing faster compared to the offside, which would obviously indicate that there's a problem with the caliper. The offside rear probably doesn't need replacing, but it makes sense to do them as a pair as I'm here. And yeah, without further ado, let's carry on.
Now, if you're looking to do this job yourself, here's a useful tip for you. It's a lot easier to crack off the banjo bolt for the brake hose, or in my case, the brake line, before you remove the caliper. With the caliper removed, yeah, it's going to be a bit more fiddly.
Oh. Whew. So here, we've got two bolts. This one is a 14mm, and behind this you've got an adjuster. This is what is responsible for winding back or winding on the caliper piston. Unfortunately, you can't really get a good light. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Actually, let me see if I can show you on the offside, because the lighting may be a little bit better. So on the brake caliper, you've got there's two bolts there. That one is for the bracket, which will need to be removed to take the bracket away, and you've got the handbrake cable attached. And this one here, that's a 14mm. That is where your adjuster is, and for the adjuster you need a 4mm Allen key, or hex key if you will.
For reference, this is what the adjuster cover bolt looks like. Normally you would reuse this, but there was no need for me to do that this time, as the new caliper comes with the brand new shiny run.
Now, one important thing to note on this, make sure the handbrake is not on. So the handbrake needs to be disengaged. I was going to say make sure you take the adjuster out, but I'm pretty sure the new brake calipers, purchased from Boffy Racing, as always, those guys have been excellent. I'm pretty sure it comes with a new one, so I'll leave that be. Next up we want, so down here, let's make sure, down here at the bottom, we've got a 10mm bolt, and this is for the bottom slider. It has this little cap on it just to prevent it getting contaminated by road grime and so forth. Right, so that should come out nice and easily, because I greased it up quite nicely the last time I did it. Again, let me get my GoPro so you can see exactly what I mean. So, see that little cap there? That simply just pulls off like so. And then behind that, that's your 10mm bolt. So because I'm using a GoPro, I can't zoom in whilst I'm filming. But there we go. It gives you a good idea of what you're removing. There we go. Removed like so. So we give it a clean up, because it's actually quite battered. Yeah, I think we give it a bit of a wire brush treatment and clean before we reuse it. Right, now, we've got this bracket we need to take off. Let's do that. Probably should have done that first, come to think of it. That's also a 14mm, I believe.
Yep, it would have been better to do that first, so I refitted the slider pin, which enabled me to remove the bracket.
Ugh. Yeah, that bolt hasn't been undone in a very long time. I've had Monique for about 5 years, I think, and I've never disturbed that bolt in my ownership, so yeah, a wee bit stiff. That bolt will be reused, so again, put that to one side, and now we need to slip the handbrake cable off, like so. Right, as you were, to removing the caliper. So the caliper should now come off nice and freely. There we go. Right. Best practice is to use a cable tie or an S hook and tie the caliper around something so it can't fall off. I mean, I'm being a bit lazy. I'm just resting it on the suspension arm because, yeah, it's not going to go anywhere. Right, so there's a fair amount of heat damage to this disc. Oh, hello. Yeah, those pads have definitely seen better days. These were EBC green stuff, I think, which I wouldn't normally use for a track day, but from memory, it's just happened that way. And because I'm changing the disc as well, of course, I need to unbolt the carrier, which I must confess I'd kind of forgotten about doing. So that will need to be done. So can't remember. I think that's also a 14 bolt, 14 millimeter from memory. I think I would be right. Ah! That was stiff. Now for the replacement disc, so I've just gone OEM. Nothing special, nothing fancy. Because to be honest, even with the brake bias valve, which I also got from Boffy Racing, another shout out to them, the majority of the braking on an MX-5 is done at the front. The rears are well, I was going to say the rears are there for show, but not quite. But yeah, needless to say, the front axle does the bulk of the braking work. I'll probably give it a little clean up as well. So that is the old disc. So as you can see, quite heat damaged on the edge. I mean, I'm sure some of you would argue it's still usable, but to be fair, the rear discs have done quite a few track days now, and yes, probably time to retire them. Right, so time for some wire brush time. Part of me finds this bit really tedious, and another part of me finds it very satisfying. It's a conflicting process, this part of the job. Some cup of grease. Right, get the new discs, which, like I say, are just OEM Brembo. Right, just make sure that the new brake disc is correct. It's the correct size, because the supplier I got this from, which isn't Boffy Racing, they've stitched me up a few times on brakes. So right, so just got some brake cleaner on the disc just to take off the manufacturing coating. Right, it's ready to go back on. Torqued. So, new pads. These are PBS Pro Track, which once more were purchased from Boffy Racing. I mean, they're black and red. It just screams performance. Oh, they look like proper hardware. Look at the friction material. Look at that. Ooh, groovy. Obviously, don't get any grease onto the friction material because greasy brakes don't work very well. I don't know if anyone's told you that. Okay, so this is the bit where you're going to want to be Speedy Gonzales, because you're going to start losing brake fluid. And that reminds me, I'm going to need a new caliper. So that's left. Right, where are my new copper washers? I even got a free sticker. Well, not sticker, magnet. There we go. That's Nicky's MX-5, whoever Nicky is. Interesting colour. Right. Okie dokie. Oh, I want that box, don't I? So, if I aim that box kind of there to catch any brake fluid. 12mm spanner. Where's my 12mm? Right. Get rid of that. This brake, the caliper probably still has some brake fluid in it. Just be mindful of that. Right, so I can't actually see. Oh, it has got a wash on it. Okay. Right, let's get rid of that. So, you want one on this side, like so. And you want one on the other side, like so. But let me get the new caliper. Because obviously we're losing brake fluid fairly fast. Quite a quick changeover, so that's always good. Not too much in the way of brake fluid spilt. Brake fluid, in case you don't know, is corrosive. It's bad for your skin, it's bad for your paint, and bad for the environment. But it's good for braking, obviously. One thing you're going to want to do is make sure that the piston is flush. And one thing you want to make sure you don't want to do when you're putting the new brake caliper on is to nick or to catch the rubber boot. So make sure everything is all lined up nicely before you start tightening everything down. That's all good. That's torqued to 37 Newton meters. You even get a new little cap to put over it, which is nice. Keeps things looking fresh, so we can get rid of the old one. Pop that in the bin. Right, now to time. Oh, we need to wind the caliper in. Wind the bobbin up. Wind the. No, that's the wrong thing, Aaron. That's something completely different. Right, so as you can see, I can currently, should be able to turn the wheel. There we go. So you want to tighten it, get the piston all the way in. Oh, it's so much easier with a piston that isn't seized. Right, at some point you should meet resistance and you shouldn't be able to wind the piston in anymore. Oh, go away, rain. Good old British weather. Oh yeah, that's a bit of a downpour, which wasn't forecast. Right, so now, as you can see, I can't move the wheel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dial it back by about 1/3 of a turn. As you do a half a turn, like so. And I can now move that. So, only thing left to do is that's tightened up. I need to refit that bracket. Oh yes, I now need to pop this back on over the hole where the gear adjuster is.
At this point, I bravely retreated to my garage as the heavens really started to open.
Well, thank you very much, British weather.
After my typical British moan about the weather, it was time to reattach the handbrake cable. With the cable reattached, I tightened the bolt down for the bracket down to 37 Newton meters before tightening the banjo bolt to 28 Newton meters.
So for the bleeding part of the job, I'm using, again, PBS Pro Track, once more acquired from Boffy Racing. So the reservoir needs a bit of topping up before we start bleeding. So as you can see, this side is done. I'm now going to do the other side, but not really going to film it because, well, it's the same process. It's just copy and paste.
Now the brakes were bled, it was now a case of topping up the brake fluid to the maximum line. Oh, of course, the Boffy Racing brake reservoir sock has to be put back on as well.
So there we are, mission accomplished. If you're a hobbyist mechanic, is this a job you could do yourself? Yes, it is. In fact, that's the first time I've replaced brake calipers on this car, and it was pretty straightforward. So if you have found this video useful, or if you liked it or enjoyed it, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time, guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession. Oh yes, ready to hit the track.